This is Front Up. I'm your host this week, Jason Bridges, and we are lucky to have JasonGraziadei with us today. Thanks for coming, Jason.
Thanks for having me.
I've known you for quite some time, and
so I was
really excited to have you here because you've had some different moves and interesting things have happened in your life recently.
I've been very fortunate living and working out here. I'm now working at Nantucket Cottage Hospital, public information officer, so that puts me in a variety of roles at the hospital, out in the community, working with, inside, outside the hospital. So it's been, and coming into that role at a very sort of historic and momentous time for the hospital. As everyone probably knows, we just broke ground on the new facility, so we're building a new hospital, which is a very big deal. It's the amount of effort and time and work that's gone in just to sort of reaching this point where we'll put a shovel in the ground has I'm not sure everyone is sort of aware of how much has gone into that, the campaign, all the politics around where it was going to go, all that stuff.
Because you just drive by and you see they're doing some work there. That's that's a lot of the public knows.
Yep.
So we back up a little bit. So you've been with the hospital for 3 years?
Yeah, over 3 years now, since the end of 2013 is when I came on board there.
So you came on board, that was right, the campaign was starting, you kind of got right into the beginning of...
Yeah, they had, actually at the time I had joined, probably a couple months before that, the news had come out that the hospital was looking at moving the location out to Wires Valley. So, that was just like right into the frying pan with that whole deal.
Welcome.
Yes, yes. And I think people recall that, and there was a lot of dialogue around where the hospital should go, what's the most appropriate location. So that was like right away jumping into something that was, had so much aspects to it, both politically, community relations. It was never going to be a simple question to build a building of this size, a project of this complexity on a small island with really limited number of locations where it could have gone. There's always the NIMBY factor, everything. There's so many things that came into play to it. So, but that's all in the rear view now.
Yeah.
We're really, we got to a good place in terms of where it should go, building on the current site. A lot of additional work and disruption had to happen to make that a possibility, and we had to get, go to town meeting and get approval to change the zoning and do everything that we did with the overlay district. But we managed to get through all of that, and now we're really at the exciting time where very soon you're going to see the steel start rising behind the current hospital, and see the building coming together.
So let's back up again to 3 years ago when you took the public information officer job. Something else happened in your life 3 years ago.
Yep.
That was kind of big.
3 years ago, yep. My son was born. My son Emmett. So, probably about 6 months after I joined the hospital. So he was born here, and obviously, that's a life-changing event. But it's been awesome. We just celebrated his 3rd birthday. So. I've had a lot of fun, being a dad now, and that's obviously a big part of my life, but it's great, and he was born at the place I work, so I got to have the experience of, seeing, him as and my wife, go through the whole, labor delivery, being, going through the office with all the visits and ultrasounds and all that stuff, so experiencing what a lot of our community members do as a patient as well. So
yeah. So a couple of questions for you about the hospital and the new building. Things that I've heard that I know there's maybe some truth or no truth to it, and you can squash it. But one of them is, so we're going to have this bigger, newer hospital. Obviously, I know how hard it is to staff people on this island. So we have this new hospital, but we can't find any doctors and nurses to run it. Is that going to be a problem for the hospital, or what are you doing to combat it?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually right now. It's actually already one of our biggest challenges, as it is for many businesses on the island.
Yep.
But the hospital, being one of the largest employers, we have over around 250 employees, even more during depending on the time of year. So we are one of the largest employers on the island, and we are in constant recruiting mode, both for physicians, but other very highly skilled and qualified staff. So as any business knows that, you can recruit, you can have mutual interests, but it always comes down to the housing. And that's a factor across the board for us. It affects every layer of the organization, from housekeeping up to recruiting, new docs. So, I mean, it's something that impacts the organization at every level, which is why, one of the big things that happened during the campaign was when we got a very significant donation, the largest one from the Persile family. I mean, his contribution was contingent upon the hospital expanding our campaign and saying, you got to, we need the hospital, we got to build it, but you also need to do more to include a housing component into the campaign. So when you open the building, we were also working on a housing component to help staff and retain our core staff and utilize them, give them a living environment and have options that we don't have right now. So that's been built into the campaign, that's been added. So we're not at our goal yet of where we need to be to make that happen. We are, we reached a point where we've raised over $100 million, which is amazing. Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's no small feat. That's the biggest capital campaign in the history of the island, and we're very proud of that. And it's gotten us to the point where we can sign the construction contract with Suffolk, put a shovel in the ground, but we're not where we need to be in terms of being able to raise the money just yet to do the housing component. But
so you'll be building the housing, or
that will be.
You have land to build the housing?
We do. Yep. The hospital owns a little more than an acre in Gwen Village, which is right across Vesper Lane from the hospital.
Where the parking is for staff.
And that's where we would like to go. And obviously, that's the idea. Okay. It still needs to go through planning and permitting and all that stuff. But that would be the location where we would have land to be able to do a project like this. And right now we're going through the best way to do that. We have different pockets of employees with all different housing needs. Some are looking at home ownership and want to stay here. Others just are here seasonally. Some just need an apartment, a one bedroom. So the housing needs run the gamut through the organization. Yep. So we're looking at what is the best way to meet those needs for our employees, with hopefully capital that we'll have moving forward and being able to close out the capital campaign. So to get back to your question, that is an issue for us now, being able to staff the current hospital when we move into the new hospital. Absolutely. Recruiting doctors, we hear about that a lot, and we need more doctors, and absolutely we do, and there's no question about that. We were very fortunate to be able to successfully recruit a new primary care doctor recently, Dr. Joel Haas. He came on board in June, stopped by the Handlebar, did a little meet and greet at your place, and just the amount of work that goes into doing that. And it's not just him, it's his family buying into the island, being able to get a house, helping them in any way that we can and that is appropriate and financially responsible for the hospital. And then, what we need now is the community to welcome him in. Everyone wants there to be more doctors, and we've done our part to bring him here and welcome him into the hospital community. And we really want his patients and other people in the community to give him that warm embrace and help him understand why we all love living here as much as we do.
I see all the med flights going back and forth, and I hear things of 20-30% of emergency visits are sent to Mass General, and so we shouldn't have a bigger emergency room and all this stuff. Well, how much do you send off island?
Yeah, that's a good question.
To Mass General?
Because when we have a great relationship with Boston Med Flight, and they're a critical part of the sort of medical infrastructure that we have on the island and our system of what we have. And when they come, it's very visible. The helicopter, often
everybody sees it.
Right. Right now the landing pad is actually out at the airport because we can't have the helicopter landing in a construction zone. But when it was at the hospital, you would see the helicopter land, drop off the crew, fly out to the airport, refuel, come back, pick up the crew and the patient, and then fly back to Boston. So what is one med flight would often look like 4 to people. So But to get to your original question, you know, our emergency department is very busy. Obviously, if you've been there, you know, we can have up to 10 or 12,000 cases every year. So you look at how many med flights we do, and really the number is about 2 to 3% of our emergency department cases. The most critical traumas are the ones that leave, but it's a very, very small percentage. Like I said, 2 to 3% of those 10 to 12,000 emergency department cases are leaving. So the vast majority are treated and released from the emergency department or admitted to the inpatient floor for further care. So, you know, the appearance and the perception of it is different than the reality, as in many things on the island. But again, the med flight is you know, if you need it, you know, you're very glad to hear that helicopter and see that coming. But our emergency department team is highly skilled, and they make life-saving saves all the time and do a great job. And they know when is appropriate to treat and a patient here and keep them here versus when the best thing for the patient is to have Boston Med Flight come and get them to one of those academic medical centers in Boston. So
when will the new hospital be done? I don't mean like perfect landscaping, but when will we be walking into the new one? I know the old one will still be there for a while, because that takes a while.
Yep.
When do you have a rough estimate that you can say?
Yeah, well, our goal would be late 2018, so hopefully fall of 2018. So we'll be living in this sort of temporary construction state through this summer and next summer, and then hopefully moving out of the old building and into the new building in the fall or winter of next year. So, you know, you're going to see at one time the two buildings, the old hospital, new hospital, standing next to each other. And we have to, you know, we started talking about how is that going to work when we're moving equipment and patients and everything from the old building into the new. It's going to be very sort of complicated logistical dance that we're going to have to do. And then, you know, we're still going to have a period of time where the site will be under construction. You're going to have to tear down the old building, do all the mitigation for everything that's in that building. And then once it is gone, all the landscaping and site work that has to come in, because that's where the majority of the parking is going to be for the new building. So these two buildings are actually so close together. They're going to be built so close together that we can't even build the portico for the main entrance of the new hospital until the old one is gone.
So you can hand a cup of coffee outside one window to the next?
In some places, it's that close, how close the two buildings are. So it's really working on our site has sort of shoehorned this building around the backside of the old building. And it'll become very, very apparent in the coming months to see the outline of the building and how close they are. And we're actually going to be entering the new building. Patients will be entering through sort of the Vesper Road, Vesper Lane side of the building, because we won't be able to use the main entrance yet. So hopefully you'll see all that. We'll be able to move in by the end of next year.
As we wrap up here, is there anything that the public doesn't know that you want to get out there?
Well, it's I was just talking about this with someone yesterday, and it's hard. You know, people don't necessarily want to know about what's in the hospital, what we do, until they actually need it, and that's understandable. I don't want to think about, you know, having to get some procedure or thing unless I need it. So, but you know, I would just invite the public to come in, you know, get a tour of the building, understand what we do every day. There's so much going on at the hospital, from, you know, the primary care offices, the specialty clinics. We have doctors coming every day from off island, neurologists, podiatrists, specialists from all over come and see patients here that understand, you know, we have a 19-bed medical surgical inpatient floor. We have infusion happening every day. We have dialysis.
Walk-in clinic?
Yep, we have the walk-in clinic going, so that's been very busy, really helpful for people not to have to go to the emergency department for something that's, you know, not at an emergency level. So, you know, the emergency department, obviously, our sports medicine department is as busy as it's ever been, and that's actually down in Bayberry Court. Okay. So they're doing all the PT, and they're, you know, that's one of the reasons why they're not at the current site. They just outgrew the space that they had within the hospital. So, you know, it's an exciting time for us, and I just welcome everyone to sort of learn more about our community's hospital and what we do, and sort of how a lot of everything that happens on the island is sort of could it happen without a hospital here? I don't think so. That's how we like to think of ourselves, is we enable everything else on the island, all the things and services and businesses and everything we have. Really, it would be hard for it to exist without a hospital. So I just invite the public to come and get to know us a little better. And
all right, I'll be in. Get a little tour.
I'd love to see you.
All right, thanks for coming, Jason.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.